You're listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast, hosted by Angel Fabian Rivera. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Angel Fabian Rivera. Hello everyone, welcome to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. This is a place where we dive deep into the captivating world of entertainment with influential Latinos shaping the industry. My name is Angel Fabian Rivera. You can also call me Angel. You can follow us on our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Angel Fabian Rivera. Today, I have the honor to introduce a fellow Latina, a fellow artist who lives in Atlanta. I just don't know how to say that. Atlanta. Something like that. And I'm excited to have her here because we've known each other for a long time, and we've always seen each other in events. We took a class last year together. It was great. It was amazing, and I wanted to bring her up to this episode. So we have Elena Miller. She's an Atlanta and Minneapolis-based IATSE Local 798 makeup artist with numerous department heading and key credits, as well as assisting with background performers across shows like Secret Life of a Dominatrix, Sound of Hope, Double Down South, Popular Theory, P-Valley, Fight Night, Class of '09, The Staircase, and more. She's also worked on commercials from brands like Kaiser Permanente, Johnsonville, WebMD, and Hyundai. Her background has always been science-based, and she uses her knowledge from her anatomy and physiology classes and biology degree to build creatures, design characters, and bring them to life on screen. She also has her own company, Setiquette Prep, which is an online education resource for makeup artists who want to pursue a career in the film and television industry. Her goal is to create more Latin representation behind the camera, starting with artists in the makeup and hair trailers. You can find out more at www.setiquetteprep.com. Okay, and you can follow her in social media as well. Elena, you are amazing. What haven't you known? Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you.
I know, and I'm so glad that we finally have this conversation because we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm glad also, like, because for everybody out there, we took a class last year about businesses and artists and all that stuff, and I'm so excited that Elena is doing her business, I'm doing my thing, the thing that we created there. We're kind of like talking about it, and now we're out in the world doing what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's crazy that we were literally in class together with these big dreams, and our final project was essentially launching our brands. And now here we are talking about our companies, doing the work, and actually making it a reality. I mean, so much of a business, yes, of course, it's an idea, but if you don't work on it, then it's never going to come to fruition. So I'm so proud of you for also, getting everything going. And it's been so fun to watch you do your interviews with some incredible different people that I know too. So thank you for doing this.
Yes, no, thank you too, because you've been everywhere. Like you started your company, you're doing everything. You're being out there, and I see you and I follow you everything that you do. I'm like, oh my God, she's doing that. And then the makeup that you do, it's just, I mean, which we're gonna talk about that, but it's just amazing. You're so freaking talented, and I love it. I love that you decided to do your own thing and just go with it. No matter what, and that's what we need. Because we do what we do, and it's hard to stand out sometimes, right? Like, because we're in an industry that is so saturated, right? Like, everybody wants to do it, and it's okay too. But how can we stand out, and how can we do our own thing, and in order to make it a business? Because that's the hard part as creators, right? Like, how do we make this a business? How do we get out there and put a price on our work, which is the hardest part?
Oh my gosh, so hard. I mean, art is subjective, first of all, and then putting a price on it too is always been a battle for me, because I, of course, love the joy of creating things. I want to work with people. I want to collaborate. But you and I both know we got bills to pay. And so
Exactly.
you have to, if you're going to make this your career and you want to be in this industry, the art of negotiation is key. And being friendly, of course, helps. But at the end of the day, they call it the entertainment business, not the entertainment, everyone's best friends, and we're going to vibe. So keep that in mind when you want to join. It is a business. So having a business mentality is incredibly important.
Yes, and please, if you're in school, in college, please take business classes. They'll definitely come very handy.
I wish I would have taken at least one.
Right?
I did not. I took classes in history, science, theater, social work, a racquetball. That was my gym
What?
credit. I know. I had to take a gym class, and I picked racquetball. It was great. I got a B plus. Yeah.
No.
I would have taken soccer, but I couldn't for some reason. I can't remember why. But I did play intramural soccer at St. Olaf. That was really fun. But anyways, yeah. If someone would have like told me, hey, maybe in like 10 years from now, you're going to start a company, you should take an econ class or like a business class. That probably would have helped a lot. But I will say that just how I grew up and the experiences I had as a kid, I was part of the Girl Scouts, and I also raised money for UNICEF, Trick or Treat for UNICEF, and I was low-key the best one at it. I don't know why. I was adorable as a child, and people can't say no to me, and I'm also quite annoying sometimes when I want things. So I would literally go, I remember, okay, this is a really funny story really fast. I went trick-or-treating for UNICEF, and I think I raised close to $200. Now that might not seem like a lot of money, but I covered a 16-block radius as a 4th grader and went around with my little box, orange box with, like the little people on it. Everyone who's ever done this fundraiser knows what I'm talking about. And I would go up to every single house, and some people would put in 50 cents, some people put in $4, some people would put in whatever change was in their pocket. But I was relentless, and I ended up raising the most money for Trick or Treat for UNICEF. And then same thing for my Girl Scout troop. I was like, we are gonna sell these boxes of cookies. So I think my mom has always told me, like, Elena, you should have gone into sales, you should have gone into marketing. What are you doing? Not selling Lamborghinis and Porsches. Like, you could have been a phenomenal real estate agent. And I'm like, I get that, because I mean, my makeup career also did start at Ulta Beauty, and I was a salesperson. But yeah, I mean, now it's great. I mean, I can just naturally pitch things. I have found ways of convincing people to give me money. I don't know how to necessarily teach that yet. I will say it begins with a story. And I think that relating to people is a great way of, and listening, honestly, not talking. Like, if you want to bring someone in, ask them how their day is and how you can help them. And then find common ground and go from there. And once I would get somebody in my chair at Ulta, I could drive that $27 mascara, wild, to maybe even a $250 ticket, adding on foundation, blush, moisturizer. I had one woman and her daughter come in, and they dropped close to $1,400 after I was done with them.
You sold that store. You made the money at that store.
I made so much money for Ulta Beauty. So much money, which is good because I also spent way too much money at Ulta Beauty.
Way too much there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because this was 2015, 2016. This was the peak of the beauty guru era.
Yeah.
So I was buying makeup left, right, and center. Oh my gosh. I had a problem. My very first makeup purchase was an Urban Decay palette, the Naked palette. If you're a girl, you know what that is. If you're a guy who's into makeup, if you're a non-binary human that's into makeup, you know what the Urban Decay OG Naked palette is. We all had one if you were into makeup in that era. So that was my very first purchase. I actually got it from Sephora. But,
of course.
I know. At the time, I didn't I was still very new.
But it was a big thing, like when you get, like you said, that was the peak.
And it all went after that first purchase. Ooh, it was all downhill from there. there goes all of my money.
There goes
So
my money. There goes my money. Take my money. You talking about makeup?
paycheck,
Take my money.
paycheck went in, paycheck went out. Paycheck
I
went in,
can.
paycheck
But at least
went
you
out.
got good discounts there.
Yes, we
Did
did.
you?
So if you
Okay.
want to work in an Ulta or even a Sephora, wherever, yeah, you do get a good discount. So highly recommend. And the best time to shop, look at me promoting Ulta. The best time to shop is always around the holiday season because you can get really good deals for your money because they sell a bunch of little kits. So when I was building my kit, I would wait till the holiday season and then I would buy all the kits so that I would have smaller versions of the skincare, smaller versions of the makeup, and I could use them faster too. Because oftentimes, as makeup artists, we have to be very aware of when things expire. You never want to
Hmm.
use expired products on talent. It can cause all type of biological types of issues.
And there
And
goes your
so,
biology's classes, right?
yes, we don't want communicable diseases. No, no.
Mm-mm,
It's
no, no, no,
very
no.
dangerous. You don't want to give someone pink eye. You don't want to give
Mm,
someone herpes simplex. You don't want to give
no, please.
people, yeah,
That's an easy
it's
thing to pass around, right? Like that herpes
so
thing.
much.
Like it's
Cold
so
sores.
easy.
Yeah. So if you ever have,
Mm.
if you're, quick PSA, if you're a makeup artist and you have a talent who sits down with you and you see any type of bruising or open sore around their mouth area or even around their nose, you might not want to ask them straight out, hey, like, what is this? But just maybe be mindful and make sure you're using 100% disposables and you're not double dipping and you're being incredibly careful. And honestly, if it's so open that, you can see mucous membranes, blood, things that are actual like bodily fluid, don't even touch it. Don't do the makeup because it's just not
Yeah.
worth their safety, your liability.
Your life.
Yeah, not worth it.
Because one thing can change your life. Literally, you never know what's gonna happen. You never know. What's it?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I've heard horror stories of people getting pink eye from people using mascaras on multiple
On
talent.
set. Ooh. Yeah, and I want to talk about. I want to talk about that because I've seen crazy stuff on set. With the makeup department, and as you probably have seen that, and obviously, there's ways to keep it safe, like you're saying right now.
Yes,
And I think it's very
99%
important.
alcohol and
Mm.
70% alcohol.
Yeah,
99
and I
cleans,
think there it
70
is. Mhm.
disinfects. And there is a difference. And people need to know that it is not being taught properly in every single school or even cosmetology school. But
Oh, wow.
please, 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 if you're a self-taught makeup artist, go take a sanitation course or do the research yourself. It's so important for our jobs to stay sanitary. You have to know these things. It's so important.
And it's also important for talent, right? Because sometimes we don't know how to ask the questions, right? Or we just go in and sit down and just do whatever you do to me. But I always like to see what's happening. What are you doing? What are you taking? We gotta ask the right questions too, because we have to take care of ourselves too. Because sometimes it's both ways, right? It's not only one side, but also you. Like you gotta look out for yourself, and
Yes.
you gotta
If
see
you
what's
see a
happening.
dirty brush, or if you see a makeup artist not scraping, if it's a cream-based product, we're talking cream eyeshadow, cream blush, cream bronzer, cream lipstick, anything that's a cream base. If you are not scraping with a spatula, a metal spatula or otherwise,
Mm.
and you are not putting it on a palette or onto a disposable wand or a lip brush that hasn't been used yet, and then going back into it, again, double dipping, do not do that either. Then if you don't see that, if you're a talent and you're not seeing that type of behavior from your makeup artist, I mean, I would be concerned. So it's just like a good reminder for talent too, just being mindful of things as well. And I'm not saying, you trust people, like people want to not hurt you. But it's might be that they just don't know. So
Exactly.
And I don't want to say it's not your job to go out and educate the makeup artist, but if you do feel unsafe for any reason, you know who to talk to the second AD, and figure something out so that you feel safe.
You gotta speak out. Yeah, there's no other way. Like nobody's gonna look out for yourself, but you, right? So that's the way we gotta see it. So everybody out there, remember, even if you like see something out of the blue, right? Like something weird, something different, just ask the questions, right?
Always
you're
ask.
not gonna lose anything. Just ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Questions are great. Communication is key.
Communication is key for everything that we do.
Everything.
I love that. So, Elena, I wanna go back I was seeing what you I was not stalking you on social media, but maybe I was stalking your social media. I mean, I see your stuff every day, but the other day I saw something that really was like, oh, interesting, and it's also something that I love to bring in the podcast. It's about your background, right? About where you come from. Your last name is Miller, right? And people don't know that you're actually Latina. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got that last name?
Of course. So, I was adopted when I was 3 months old from Lima, Peru, by two Caucasian lesbians. And I was born in the early 90s. So, this was a time period when there were a lot of Latin kids actually getting adopted from countries like Colombia, Guatemala, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina. Like, literally, South America was quote unquote open for business in terms of adoption. I actually attended a really cool camp growing up called La Semana that would bring together all of these adopted kids from all over the country. Surprising though, a lot of them were in Minnesota already, to help us learn about our culture and help us, find that one time a week. Because a lot of us, I mean, I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was a very white, like, childhood. Like, a lot of my classmates were, it wasn't a super diverse area, but also where I went to school, I went to private school throughout my entire life. And so it just happened to be that way. And so I didn't have a lot of interactions with a lot of Latino people until I was in college.
Wow.
And even then, I tried to join the Latin group on campus, and I was a pretty big member. I actually choreographed two of our international night dances, which they host at St. Olaf, and had a blast doing it. And used a lot actually of the dance inspiration from what I'd learned from La Semana to do that, and brought it into my school. Unfortunately, the last year they decided to elect a white girl as the president of the Latin organization on campus because she was a Spanish major. Yeah.
But she was still white.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens with the world.
I know. And so I was not involved as much my senior year. I also, though, studied abroad fall semester of my senior year, and I only came back the second half of the year. So I avoided a lot of it. Yeah. But luckily, the vice president was a Latino. But still, I just felt really uncomfortable with that.
It doesn't make sense, Like, what are you? No. Where are you gonna bring whatever you're learning in Spanish class? That's not enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't feel represented in a place where it was literally one of the only places I was supposed to feel represented, and it left a sour taste in my mouth.
I must imagine, right?
And
like
safe,
it was like, yeah.
Well, and people were like, "Well, she's more qualified than you. She speaks Spanish," and I was like, "What?"
And that doesn't mean anything. And that's something that we've seen, today grow more and more and more about the being Latina enough. But it's not about learning on not knowing Spanish. It's more than that, right? It's about where you come from, your heritage, your willingness to learn about your background and your culture, right? Like that's what I always see about it, And hey, that's something that I think, for me, when I moved to the States, right, like I realized, because I had that mindset too when I was in Puerto Rico, but because I didn't know, right? I was like, for me, it was like, oh, you gotta know Spanish in order to be Latina, right? But that's very stupid. And when I moved here, I got that slap on my face. I was like, well, actually, yeah, it's not about that. It's more than that.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different ways to be Latina or Latino. Yeah. So for a bunch of us adopted kids, we didn't learn Spanish in our homes. We didn't learn Spanish at school. Like, the school I went to only offered French. I didn't take a Spanish class, and other than at La Semana, until I was in high school. Wow. Luckily, all my French helped me get into a higher Spanish level when I got to high school, and I was able to do pretty good. I've tried Duolingo. But I want to be fluent. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not like an anti-Spanish speaking Latina, but it's a hard language to learn when you're an adult.
It is.
And languages are hard in general, but I am trying constantly. I still have great communication with my birth family, and I try every single time that we talk to speak in Spanish. When I visit them in Peru, I'm speaking in Spanish. And if, you know, it's kind of funny. I will literally go all day speaking Spanish, and then my brain will just be so tired I'll like literally have to sleep the next day, because I'm still at the point of proficiency where I'm thinking in English, translating, and then trying to say it in Spanish versus just speaking in Spanish. And so, or excuse me, just thinking in Spanish. I can't think in Spanish yet.
Yeah.
So,
No, but I feel you. But I think everybody, right? Like that, everybody who goes through that, like when I moved here too, like had it the other way around, right? Like it was for me, it was like I'm still thinking in Spanish and translating in my mind, and you know, people who know more than one language understand that, right? And it's sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's even frustrating, because you're like, I'm trying to think, but whatever I'm thinking is not coming out the way I want it to come out. It's like we call it melcocha in Puerto Rico, which is like a whole mix.
As melcocha?
Melcocha.
Melcocha.
A melcocha in my mind.
Okay. Well, see, and I'm like, even when I speak Spanish, I remember I would go to like Spanish camp too, like at Concordia language villages. I remember going to Spanish camp at El Lago de Bosque, which is like this thing up in Minnesota. And it was crazy because like I went for 2 weeks. I think I was only like 9 or 10, but I got voted somehow to be the one to light the big bonfire at the end of the week. Again, it's supposed to go to the person who's like the smartest or like the most volunteer, or, you know, someone who's really like good at Spanish. And they picked me, and I was like, that was my first year going. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I could tell people were mad. People were upset that I was the one that got picked to light the bonfire, because this little brown girl doesn't speak Spanish, and why is she getting picked? And all these, and I was like, lo siento. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I was picked, but it was a great experience. I mean, I only went like that 1 year. I went to French camp more actually, which was Lac du Bois. Both of them mean Lake of the Woods. So
That's
it's like
funny.
a northern Minnesota thing. But yeah,
it's a Minnesota thing. I need a
It
shirt
is.
like that. It's a Minnesota thing.
It's a Minnesota thing. I sound pretty darn Minnesotan. Like if I'm speaking French or Spanish, I sound Minnesotan. If I speak French, I sound, or excuse me, if I speak Spanish, I speak it with a French accent, and both of them sound Canadian. Like
Wait. So question, how do Minnesota people talk? Is it like how you're talking, right? Because I think you're the first person I know from Minnesota. So
well,
I'm curious now.
I mean, Minnesotans, I feel like I don't have a huge accent because I try to sound as, I don't know, I've watched so many
neutral as possible.
Movies. Yeah, neutral. I try to be neutral, literally. One of my moms grew up in New Jersey, and she would always joke about how New Jersey people chew their voice, and so you have to swap like between something. And then my other mom grew up in northern Minnesota, and so
so she's from there.
She's from up there too. But basically, we sound Canadian. I mean, we say different things like bagel or bagel. No, that's not right. Milk. No, roof.
Milk.
Roof and roof. That's a different one too.
Roof.
But there's a roof. Yeah, but Minnesotans, I feel like, we say roof. So
Rough.
people are like, roof? Roof is like what a dog does. Roof.
Rough.
No.
Rough.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. So having an accent both in Spanish and in English has always been confusing for people. I mean, even like as soon as I walk into any predominantly Latin room, people start speaking to me in Spanish, of course.
And you're
I
like,
look Latina.
Well, automatically it goes there. Yeah, you look Latina, which is good. But yeah, people also like think, right? Like they
just assume.
It's like just assume something that is not. Again, we live in a world today where we got second and third generations living in the States, and that doesn't mean that they know Spanish.
I know.
And,
I try really
it's
hard.
part of it.
I try hard to be patient with people and just be like, lo siento, no habla español mucho, pero yo comprende. And then I'll be like, petit peu, which is French, because I always panic. And I'm like, I don't remember how to say a little bit in Spanish. So I'm going to switch to French.
Un peu de français, s'il vous plaît.
Si. Oui.
That is funny.
Je parle un petit peu français.
Je parle un petit peu français. Oh,
Yeah.
see, that's so
I
funny.
saw in your notes that you wanted to ask like what my favorite Spanish slang thing was, and I was racking my brain thinking of like funny things to say. Couldn't come up with something, but I do remember. And if you're a musical theater person, you know,
Say it.
voulez-vous wait,
Voulez-vous
voulez-vous
coucher?
coucher avec me ce soir? Wait, voulez-vous
Ah,
coucher
voulez-vous
avec
coucher avec moi ce
moi
soir?
ce soir? Everybody knows
Queer
that
Lady
one.
Marmalade. Give me a little bit of that, please. Moulin Rouge. I
Yes.
love that
So
musical. I love that movie. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. That's very interesting, Elena. That you got, that your background. It's so amazing. It's so, it's your story. I believe is so unique, and it tells again, like, there's so many different stories of us out there, and people still think that Latinos, we are the same when we're not, right? We have different backgrounds, we have different stories, we made it differently. Some of us speak Spanish, some of us don't, some of us know about our culture, some of us don't. There's so many reasons, there's so many ways, and I think at the end of the day is your willingness, right, of like wanting to know about where you come from, which is what you did, which is what you're doing, right? You wanted to reach out to where do I come from, where's actually what I must believe you know a lot about Peru because you wanted to know about Peru, right? Like you wanted to know
Definitely.
about it because you didn't grow up in a place where that was accessible. And that's another thing that people need to understand, that our surroundings really make us. And sometimes it's what you
Yes.
do with that, right? Like, yes, you grow up in a specific household, specific way, but now that you're an adult, what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna stay there? Are you gonna go out and actually see the world and see all that and study all that? And man, like, I want people to actually know that Latinos, we gotta stop being boxed in one thing, because we're not the same.
No, and the representation that I grew up seeing on TV and in films about what stereotypical Latinos would do or what their lives would look like was so inaccurate to what I actually
Yeah.
experienced. I will say, like moving to Atlanta was one of the best things I've ever done for my mindset in terms of
Uh-huh.
diversity because I grew up in Minneapolis and then I started my makeup career out in Vancouver, British Columbia, which has a Latin population. It is diverse. I mean, Vancouver's a huge city,
Uh-huh.
but moving to Atlanta was a culture shock in the best way. I felt so safe in rooms that I had never
Uh-huh.
felt included in before. Just there being so many different people of different backgrounds and wanting to create art and wanting to talk about extremely important things in our culture, politics, religion, just sports. Like it was so eye-opening to me. And that sounds kind of like sad. Like, wow, girl, it took you till you were like in your late 20s to like
No, but it's
get
different
some
for everybody,
perspective.
right?
No,
Yeah,
I
no, but
mean,
it's different for everybody. Yeah, this was your moment to actually see it, and to understand. And sometimes it is hard to understand, right? Because sometimes you're in the room next to someone who got a completely different experience, right?
yeah.
And then you're like, why didn't I get that experience? But no, in order to be you, you had to go through what you went through, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, don't get me wrong. My mom's definitely tried. They put me in dance classes. I did Latin dance. I did dance
I love
troupe.
that.
I went to camp. I would go to language camps. Like they tried their very darndest. I mean, they even tried to get my school to also teach Spanish instead of just
Oh,
French.
wow.
So it was not like they didn't try. It was
Yeah.
just uphill battles. But I'm so grateful to be where I am now. I mean, I've definitely grown very accustomed to being around being the only person who looks like me in the room, and I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
that is a common thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, and you make it your strength, right? That's
Hmm.
that's your tour de force, right? And that's the beauty of it. Uh and talking, all about all of that, I actually want to know, because you grew up in Minnesota, you grew up in this white family, as you being Latina, and a lot of these surroundings. You also, grew up in a queer family, which is amazing for me. Like, I love that because this is the 90s, and obviously I must believe it wasn't easy as two moms raising kids in Minnesota and all that stuff. So I must think that it wasn't easy. But when did you fall in love with makeup? When was that moment that you realized I want to do this?
When Harry Potter 1 came out.
Oh,
Harry
really?
Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I remember seeing the movie, not the book. I saw the movie in
Mm-hmm.
theaters 7 times. I have never seen a movie that many times in a theater before, since. That movie changed my entire life. Now, I have mixed feelings about J.K. Rowling now
It's
for
another
some
story.
very clear reasons. Totally different, conversation.
Yeah, but that
But
doesn't. Yeah.
I will say, when I was that age, that movie transformed everything for me. I was so inspired by the practical makeups that Nick Dudman did. Um,
Mm.
and Amanda Nightmonger was the department head as well.
I
And
love that you know their names. I love that.
of course,
Study, people. Study out there. Study your people. Yes, love that.
if you want to be successful in this industry, you have to know who's come before you, and you have to
Thank you.
like look them up, know their names, respect them. How do you expect to learn anything if you don't look back?
They paved the way for us, you know?
They
That's
did.
it.
They did so much for us. And so yeah, I mean, every time I watch a movie, I'll watch the credits and find out who the makeup department head was. Then I'll go to IMDb, see what the other worked on, and then I'll probably follow them on Instagram. And
Of course.
of course, and compliment them on their work. I'll be like, oh my God, I just saw this. It was really good. Thank you for everything you do.
Aw, love that.
But yeah, so watching Harry Potter for the first time was so cool to me, that they had these incredible goblin creatures that were real, like prosthetic makeups. And then obviously blood and effects too. But what really inspired me was once, you get that DVD at the time, and there would be the bonus features, the behind the scenes,
And that's
the
the part that you were
commentaries.
like,
And that was what I was after. I was so curious. How did this get made? I want to know everything about this. The second thing, and I'm thinking about like the timeline, which one was first, Harry Potter or this one sleepover? So my school auctioned off a Halloween themed sleepover, and I really wanted to go because, I don't know, I was a weird nerdy kid that wanted to sleep in the school. And
of course.
during Halloween, and our movie night choice was The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And it terrified me. Oh my God. I was so scared.
The
But then I
that they use
also,
there, it's crazy.
yeah, but I also was like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I want to do this. This is so cool. Like, and then also Shape of Water with Guillermo del
Shape of
Toro.
Water, it's just amazing.
That reminded me so much of Creature of the Black Lagoon.
That's definitely, yeah, I can see it.
So
So parentheses, you were that weird kid who like loved those weird characters, like very, like all the weird characters, like all the stuff like that, like, very like, I love that.
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter,
Lord of the Rings, that
Star Wars. I've been a nerd my entire life, but I was really into creatures for a long time when I was younger, like just figuring out how they did it.
I was really
like,
into creatures.
Show me the secret. I can't talk. Tell me how you did it. I want to know. And it wasn't until I got older and started, doing like watching YouTube, and like we were talking about earlier with the, blow up of the beauty guru, that I got more into like beauty makeup and more, day makeups and things like that. But I started a pure like SFX creature girl. I was just super interested to know how to do it. Now, I didn't actually do anything with that, which was weird. I was so determined to be a doctor when I was a kid, that because I thought I was gonna like change the world being a doctor.
Of course.
Obviously. Well, I have like diagnosed raging ADHD, and I've always been completely like obsessed with how the brain works. And so I wanted to go to college to get a degree in neuroscience and eventually become a neurosurgeon, so that I could fix my ADHD, because I didn't like it. And when I was a kid, I was made fun of all the time. I mean, it was a hard time. People weren't tons of kids were neurodivergent, but nobody was talking about it like they are now. And so having to, be a kid and go down to take my meds at lunch, and, being that weird girl that, sometimes would lose control or socially awkward or didn't know how to talk to people, was really hard. And so it wasn't until I got older and like really accepted that part of myself that things got better. But yeah, I mean, I was driven by science. I wanted to go be a doctor. I was going to be like, I went on a trip to Peru actually through my college called the Peruvian Medical Experience. And I was like,
Ooh.
okay, great. I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to go to Peru and I'm going to save Peru.
Aww.
I was like, this is my mission in life, is to
This is
be
my
a doctor.
mission in life. I'm gonna save Peru, and that's it. That's it. That's it. But that's, you know, ADHD was a superpower too, you know, and that's today, you know, I always say like every creative has that, no matter what, right? That's what makes us us, you know, that's what makes us do what we do because our brain works so different. And, you know,
So
and obviously
differently.
you must have gone through a lot of hard times, but, you know, when I hope you realize that, you know, that's your creative side, you know, and not everybody can have those thoughts, you know. And it's so beautiful that we get that. Sometimes it's just hard to put it on paper, right? Like to actually express what we're thinking. But that's the beauty of it, and that's, you know, what makes us us, and that's the superpower. And I hope you use it as your superpower because the work that you do, Elena, it's just incredible. And I've seen it, you know, I've seen photos, videos, and I want to talk about that because you do a lot of, you started loving these creatures, and that is what you do, you know, a lot of right now, right? You do a lot of FX, you know, very very very
Characters.
strong, right? So
Yeah.
can you talk about that, like how do you do that? Like I just don't know. I just how do you do that? How do you make it happen? You know, like where do you start?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I use my biology degree to create a lot of my creatures because I think of every single creature I
Mm,
create using their anatomy and physiology. When you come up with a brand new creature, the first thing I think of is their skeletal structure. How do they move?
ah,
Are they slow moving? Are they limping? Are they swimming? Are they flying? That's going to tell me how I want to put wings on them, how I want to put scales. Do I want to make them tall or short, wide, skinny? It'll completely change what my idea is based on their anatomy. So if someone was to say I would like, you know, something that's reptilian but also can fly, but also looks kind of like, you know, a dragon with a little bit more plumage. And I'd be like, okay, I know what those anatomies look like. And then you also want it to look humanoid? Okay, let me go back
mm.
to my biology textbooks and figure out their anatomy and physiology so that I can create this character that looks believable and will also function. And then colors too. Like I'll use color theory a lot to create my makeups. Obviously, what inspires me is art around me, nature, of course. I love, you know, collecting old magazines and I'll look through stuff. But most of the time, it's all science based. I think about how the creature would get wounded. What type of blood would they have? Are they an alien? Where are they from? Are they going to bleed
Right.
red? Are they going to bleed purple? What about when the oxygen hits the blood? When oxygen hits our blood, it becomes much brighter. Dark blood inside the body, you know, our blood is actually not red. We are
Yeah, it's not
blue.
red. Yeah.
The blood only turns red when air. So that's why it's so bright. And then also too, depending on where in the body you bleed, you're going to either hit like an artery or a vein. And depending on what that is, it's going to bleed a different color. And then also when you're doing effects makeup too, you have to think about how much is it going to bleed. It always makes me laugh when I see a horror film or a slasher and they have like some slit neck or punctured lung or something, and two things happen. One, it doesn't look believable at all because the director has clearly just been like, more blood, more blood, more blood, and I'm like, that doesn't look real. That's not how the, you know, jugular vein works. That's not how the femoral, like, no, none of it is accurate. And then also too, when they whenever I see a character in a movie or TV show get stabbed and the first reaction is for someone to pull it out, I'm like, so dumb. Literally, that will kill them within 5 minutes. A puncture wound to the chest, you're screwed. Like, you've got to think about this because you're going to, and this is a PSA to anyone. If you ever get stabbed, leave it in and then go to the ER because you will, as soon as you release that pressure
That's
point,
it.
whatever it is, you're done. The bleeding, you're probably going to bleed out very quickly. So don't do that.
No, I just love all this because, you know, people say like, what are you gonna do with science? You can do makeup with science. You know, if you know your science, it's just, it's, you know, in everything that you say, it totally makes sense because yes, you gotta know the anatomy, you gotta know what works, you gotta know what's real, right? Even if it's fiction, right? Because we're talking about aliens, we're talking about things that we actually don't know necessarily, but you gotta make it true, you gotta make it believable, right? And that is
It
something that
even
you do, and you find, and you gotta find that story even behind the makeup, like why the makeup is like this, because it has to make sense.
Exactly. And it even works in beauty makeups too, or men's grooming. If you're going to put highlight on someone's face, why are you putting it here and not here? Well, because this is a zygomatic arch. This is your frontal bone. You want to highlight certain areas of your face to bring them forward, to push them into the camera. When you contour, you're putting it in the hollow of your cheek. You're pushing it further back. If you think about your skeleton, that is what our skeletons look like. You've got, it's almost like this, right? So that's why you
Uh-huh.
see a lot of beauty makeup artists, following different trends. They'll even put contour here sometimes. They'll for sure contour out the jawline because they want to push it back. And that's how you can trick the camera into thinking you don't have a double chin or you have different
Oh.
structure in your face. I mean, some people are naturally gifted with very high cheekbones and things like that. But even to like narrow the nose, you're going to put contour on both sides in the nose. So if you know your facial anatomy, you can change someone's entire face. I mean, one of my favorite shows that just came out recently, which, oh my gosh, I can't remember the makeup department head's name, but it was The Day of the Jackal with Eddie Redmayne. Oh my gosh, his aging makeup,
I haven't seen
phenomenal.
that show, but I've seen it. But I've seen the show.
Oh,
I haven't seen it, but I've seen it.
oh
I know about the
my
show.
gosh.
Really?
Oh my gosh. It was just I was so impressed. I was like, the anatomy looks phenomenal. You guys did such a good job. So yeah, I mean, if you're ever curious more about like why we put makeup in certain areas or like the reason behind certain things. And then too, if we're talking biology, you might as well talk about chemistry too. So then there's reasons for, why does certain moisturizers mix with certain foundations? Well, because this one's water-based and this one's silicone-based and those two chemicals don't mesh. So you're going to end up with pilling or breakage. I mean, there is so much science in
just
makeup.
love this. There's so much science. I need a shirt. I need another shirt that says there's so much science in makeup. You're saying so many good phrases in here, Elena. But yeah, it is, and that is true. And sometimes this kids want to say like they know about makeup, but there's so much more to it. And I wish people like take their time to sit down and actually think about what they're doing, because when you do things, you need to do them. It has to have a reason behind it. I didn't know about that, about the contour, because sometimes I don't know where to add it. I don't know anything about makeup. I'm so bad at it.
I can teach you.
I skip, please, because I skipped makeup class in theater school, so. But that was because I wanted to graduate, and it was like, I need to graduate, and I don't need to take that many classes right now. But I was like, but then I go back to it, and I'm like, I wish I would have taken a makeup class, a wig class, a hair class, all that stuff. I don't have hair anymore, but that's another thing.
You get a wig.
But yeah, right. I love wigs. But that's it. It's so important to know what you're talking about. Because when you talk about, and I've seen videos of you, because you put the other day, again, I don't stalk you, I just see your videos. The other day you posted a video about what you do behind the scenes and the way you communicate with the director, and I love that you were talking so, like, the way you talk about makeup, it's just so beautiful because you know what you're talking about, and you were telling them, no, this is what we gotta do because this happens next. But if we do this before, then the hair won't be like that, or the makeup, or the blood, or stuff like that. And those are things that you are, 10 steps ahead as a makeup artist because you study and you do your homework, right? And everybody needs to understand more about that because it's not, sometimes actors think, oh, like, I know what I'm doing, or this and that. But no, there's more to it. There's more departments out there doing their job and doing their thing so passionate that we forget about that. But the way you do it, it's just so beautiful, and I wish everybody could learn from what you do because you're such an inspiration, Elena. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's just so beautiful the way that you work. And now talking to you, about it, you're so passionate about makeup. You're so passionate about science, which is amazing too, because you combine those two things, and you were smart about it too. You were like, okay, I study science, so what do I do? We actually, my actual science now, and you put it
Yeah, I
to
gotta get a
in a
job.
way that you're like, yeah, but you put it to work in a way that works for you, and
Yeah,
uh, and everybody needs to see that more. That you don't get to where you are in one night, right? Like there's a lot of work that goes behind it. There's a constant learning. Things develop, things change, and you gotta be on top of what's happening, which is sometimes can burn you out.
very
But
much
that's
so.
part of
I
it.
am exhausted, but I
Yeah.
I'm having such a fun time right now. I'm actually kind of doing a little bit of a challenge myself. I decided with some of my time the last week or so that I wanted to do an experiment because I'm a
Mm.
biologist and I like doing experiments. And I did a social experiment. I said, what would happen to my Instagram following and my viewership if I posted 2 to 3 times a day? What's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen? And I remember thinking about that idea on last Friday, and on Saturday I was like, I don't have anything to post. Like, what do I do? Like, I did this for one day, and now I'm already giving up. Like, this can't be happening. I was like, let me go look back at the thousands of videos I have on my phone because being a makeup artist, if you are one, I have 80,000 pictures on my phone and probably 5,000 videos because of continuity. So I've got content for years. You are never going to not see content from me.
Wow.
So it was actually quite easy. I was like, wait, there was that one video. Let me just clip it together. Let me just post this. It's probably not going to do very well. It's Saturday. I think I posted it at like 1 o'clock. I'm like, people are probably with
Mm.
their kids out at lunch. I don't know, not paying attention to the phone. Sure. Oh my God, that reel blew up. I had no idea that so now what day is it? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Uh-huh.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It has been 5 days. And that reel has gained close to 10,000 views.
That's
And
crazy.
all organic. And the shares,
Yeah.
I think there's like 50 shares on it. And I've gotten DMs about it. I've gotten people commenting on it saying like, oh, I wish more people knew this. And because at the end of the day, as you know, of course, filmmaking is a team sport. Back
Mm-hmm.
to our sports references.
Of
You
course.
have to collaborate with people and you have to be willing to listen to departments and department heads. And I feel like as though makeup artists sometimes are not heard enough, and hairstylists
Mm.
and effects people. We are just trying to get you your day. We want to help. We are trying to do our jobs in a way that's effective. And when I see a schedule, I am oftentimes like, okay, I understand why you did this because the location. But let me tell you, if you want to go from a dry, wet, dry situation or a wet, dry, wet, and you're putting blood in her hair,
Mm.
it's going to take me an hour to reset her. I can't make hair
Yeah.
dry faster than the universe will dry her hair. It is just going to dry as hot as the hair dryer will dry it. I am so sorry. I know you're trying to make your day. I know that the sun is going down. I know that literally there are so many things you're worried about, but let me help you. Let me show you how we can do this really efficiently. And so I wish people would also hire their makeup and hair department heads and prosthetic department heads extremely early on in the development and crewing process, because we could honestly help build your schedule in a way that makes it so that you won't even have to do changes. We could hit our days in 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, Tarantino
Faster,
does
yeah.
it. Why can't we? Like, we
Mhm.
can do fast, efficient makeups if you set us up for success. So let's work together so that we are not going wet, dry, wet, or
Yeah.
lipstick, no makeup, lipstick, dirt, lipstick, no make. You know, it's just the
Yeah.
flow of things. And I understand camera, lighting, they have seniority on set sometimes.
but they have to take everything in perspective, because there's certain things that we got to do it this way, but there's also these other things that we got to do it this way, because there's something in there, there's the makeup department, then there's a props department, then the wardrobe department. There's a reason to everything, but everybody has to make sure that the puzzle pieces are there, right, and fits, right, because then you're gonna have longer days, or you're gonna have to reshoot, or you're gonna spend more money on it. So either you hear everybody, right, and you understand what they have to, in order to, because in order for you to make your job easier and your job better, you have to, you have to talk and you have to tell them, hey, this is what's happening. I need your help. In order for me to move on and go forward, this needs to happen. And if that happens with other departments, why wouldn't it happen with yours?
Exactly. And I wish that people would understand that when you talk to your makeup department head or your hairstylist, we are also your closest to the talent. So we can also measure how the talent is feeling on set probably quicker than you. Talent tells us things, and we aren't going to share any of those details with you, but we can at least be like, this is the level we're at right now. This is what you're going to get today. Can we do X, Y, Z? We are the therapists of the set, and we have a lot of emotional labor put on us.
It is natural. I sit down on that chair and I tell whoever the person is all my problems. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And so when I think what people don't realize is, like, if they're like, I've had first ADs that don't want to give me last looks, and I've got a talent who's literally got the most insanely dry, chapped lips. And I'm like, your talent is so worried about their lips. If you don't let me go in for every other take, they are not going to give you a good performance. I really need to help their look. Let me help them. And I know that you don't want to let me go in every other take, but I'm going to do it because you will get a better performance out of your actor or actress. So it's like, I'm not doing it to be annoying. I'm just doing it to help. And the talent loves that. They want to be pampered. Unless they're the type of talent. I love to be pampered. Yeah, unless they're the type of talent that's like, I don't need anything. That's fine too. But then we're still on the same page. If I've had talent that literally I will go in every 5th or 6th take to offer them a mint. And they're like, yep, give one. I'll be like, here you go. That's fine. We're on the same page. They didn't need anything. I gave them moisturizer and sunscreen and lip balm, and that's all they had to do all day. And then all day I'm just pumping out mints. Sure. Pay me to pump out mints. Yeah. That's great. It. I can do that. I can be friendly. I can be, a helpful assist with, knowing the temperature of their behavior and their attitude about things. And all I'm going to do is communicate that with the director or the producer. Now, again, never telling anyone's business. I am a trust vault. Yeah. We never say anything.
I love that. But, I used to have this makeup lady when I was working on this movie for months, and every day she would give me a head massage. She would literally sit me on the chair, and she would be like, close your eyes, and she moisturized my head. And I was like, I felt so pampered, and I was like, and she was like, I know you like this. She was like, and I was like, yeah, I actually do.
Yeah, and hot towels at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. It's just you create a relationship, and it's like you say. I think the connection that we have with makeup department, most of anything, it's just beautiful, and you connect with them so deeply because yes, you're also taking care of them, right? Because everybody has different things about everybody feels insecure about something about their looks, right? And you guys help us hide those things or even put them out there and actually show them, in a way that we're like, oh wow, like I didn't know I could look like this or I could be like this. You get like literally our inner beauty out, and it's beautiful. So the work you guys do, it goes from physical to emotional. You guys do some soul cleaning in us. I don't know what it is, but it's part of it, and I love it.
I bring my crystals to set because I'm trying to keep the vibes good. We often sage at the very beginning or end of shows. I love a candle, or I love using my diffuser. Obviously, if talent is allergic or sensitive to smells, you always want to ask people, do you have any allergies or sensitivities to anything at the start of every single day? But I'm here to create a vibe. And the best way to start the day, in my opinion, is calm. And honestly, I'll put on Latin lo-fi on my iPad or on my little speaker, and I try to keep things as calm as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, I've definitely had days where I'm like, I get too excited about something, and I'm like, all right, let's bring in the salsa and bachata. Let's bring the party. Like, so merengue. But, that's one off. And then also, of course, I'll take whatever my talent wants. I'm like, here, you got the aux cord, or here, do you want to join the Spotify group? I will follow their lead. But if they are coming in at 4:00 in the morning, multiple days in a row to do a 2-hour prosthetic makeup, no, we are chilling.
We're chilling. We're taking it easy. We're gonna soothe it in there. I love
slow
that.
Day.
I love slow day.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we're gonna switch now to Latino Trivia Showdown. Okay. This is how it works. I'm gonna give you 5 categories. You're gonna choose one of those 5 categories, and I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. Okay? I'm gonna give you A, B, C, and you're gonna choose whatever option you think is the right one. Okay? There's no rights. There's no wrongs. Well, there's a right, but there's no wrongs in this. Okay? You're just gonna have fun. So there's no pressure here. Okay. So the categories are history, music, food, famous Latinos and achievements, and geography.
Okay. Geography.
Geography. Okay. Let's do this. What is the largest country in South America by land area? It's either Brazil, Argentina, or the one that takes forever to fly over.
Chile?
No, that was just it.
Oh, okay. I would say it's definitely Brazil.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
Look at you. Yeah,
like,
because Chile is actually the largest. The longest.
It's
the longest.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But not by land.
One down.
I love that. One down. What is the capital of Argentina?
Buenos Aires.
No,
Santiago.
No, you did. You did good.
Okay, good.
Buenos
I
Aires.
didn't myself.
Woo.
Okay, good.
Some second guess yourself. You got it. And the last question is: the Amazon rainforest is mainly located in which country?
In Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah! You got 3 out of 3. Look at you. You did good. You did amazing. See, you can do it. You know your geography, girl.
Again, very nerdy child. So I made it my mission to not only learn all of the state capitals of the United States, I started working on all the capitals of every country in the world. So I got all through South America, and I was starting to work on Europe and Asia, and then Africa and Oceania, but I got so stuck on South America and Central America too, because that's where my sister and I were both from, that I kind of forgot to do the rest of the world. But I really like geography, and I've been very fortunate and very privileged, and I'm grateful to have gotten to do as much travel as I have. So I definitely do know some capitals in those other countries, but yeah, I was the nerd that would be like, oh, what's the capital of North Dakota? Bismarck. Like,
that's
random.
Crazy. I barely know mine. It's Puerto Rico. That's crazy. Elena, before we go, I want you to talk about Setiquette Prep, right? Like, what's the work that you guys do? How can people reach out to you? How can people work with you? What do you do there, and what inspired you to get to to make your business?
Yeah, for sure. So Setiquette Prep is my company that I started just last year. So we are still very much in our infancy, and always open to grants and funding. And what it is an online education resource. You can take classes via Zoom with me, one-on-one or in class sizes that are larger, depending on the topic. And then also I am offering in-person classes in Atlanta to do certain types of makeup. I don't believe that you can learn things online all the time. I think that Zoom is a great resource, or Google Meet, whatever Teams that you use. But there is something to be said with doing hands-on teaching that I think is crucial. And I think that once you get a brush in your hand, you can really feel and see what you're doing. So Setiquette Prep is very much my little baby of dreams and hopes and my desire to change the industry and how it works for Latin people. I want to see more people who look like us in and behind the camera, specifically in the makeup and hair trailers. Now, I know that there are probably a lot more Latinos in LA. I know that there's probably a lot more in New York. I don't see as many in Atlanta, and I would love to see more. And I think that we have an incredible Latino population in Georgia in general. And there's no reason why this can't be an offering for our recently graduated high school students. Now, I do have an 18 plus rule, like you have to have graduated from high school to take classes with me, just for safety and, you know, parental reasons. And just it's easier to explain. Don't get me wrong. I think there are so many great resources to learn makeup on YouTube and stuff. But I think that if you're wanting to pursue this as a career, for sure, start early, start playing with, you know, scar wax, play with all types of different makeup so that by the time you turn 18, you are 10 years ahead of the rest of us. Love that. There is actually a girl, her name's Dakota. She is one of the youngest SFX artists in the world, and her work is insane. And she's met a bunch of really famous artists, and they are so gracious to her. And I'm so excited to see her career bloom. But you know, it's hard at this time to want to do kids. Don't get me wrong.
No, I
love
definitely
kids.
get you. Yeah.
But this is more towards adults. So Setiquette Prep, I would love to work with high school students that have graduated. I'd love to work with, you know, college students, people who are in graduate school or, you know, wanting a career change or just curious about the world of makeup in the film industry and television industry. I am constantly taking classes myself. I think that there is still so much to learn out there. I want things to be more easily accessible to people. I think that, especially in the world of effects, it is a stereotypically still very much an old boys club. Don't get me wrong. I love my male colleagues. I think that some of them are phenomenal, but I've also experienced very sexist, racist, horrible, homophobic, transphobic types of things on set. And so I want there to be a safe space for us, and I want to help create that. So, and also for the queer community. I mean, there aren't a lot of people, especially in the South, that are as welcoming. And so I want to be a safe place. Given that I was raised by lesbians, I was born an ally, and I will never not be fighting for my trans family. I have members of my family that are trans, and I love them to death. And so that is my mission, is to help transform and create a far more inclusive world through storytelling, specifically in the makeup and hair trailer.
I love that. You're changing the world one brush at a time.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, literally. And one last question: Do you teach from like no knowledge to like advanced? Like
Yeah. And we can custom make things too. So if you go onto my website, there's like 3 different sections. We've got the business of makeup, which is incredibly important. I think not enough people, again, we were talking earlier about business classes. Our jobs are 80% administration and 20% artistry. So if you don't know how to market yourself, you're not going to get a job. If you don't know how to create a resume, you're not going to get a job. If you don't know how to use IMDb Pro, you're not going to get a job. And I'm not saying forever. You can definitely get jobs through referrals, and that works too. There are so many ways to succeed in this industry. However, I will say having a professional website has gotten me a lot of jobs. And it is a fee, but anything I'm learning, any money that I'm making, I'm putting and investing back into my career, back into my business. So I try to remind people that, yeah, it might seem like a lot of money to pay for a Squarespace website, but I'm going to make a ton back because of it. Yeah. So
you got to do it.
There's the business of makeup. There's the onset, becoming a department head, being key, getting to learn how to day play, things like that. And then also, of course, the makeup itself. So learning how to do beauty, basic effects, and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a super proficient shop technician. Now, there are people out there that are phenomenal sculptors, amazing at running molds and doing incredible applications. I am still learning that too. And so I would advise people, I have plenty of friends that are great at those things, and I would direct them to those people. And we can take class together because I can teach bruising, I can teach blood, I can teach very incredible old aging, but there are certain things that I'm still learning too. I mean, I learned a bunch in makeup school, but I just haven't had the opportunity to apply those skills. And so I would never want to get in front of someone and be like, let me show you how to make, foam latex appliances, when I've only done it maybe a handful of times. So I could go back to my notes and really, study and make sure I know what I'm doing. But I think there are people out there that are even better at that than I am. And I'm going to direct them to those people.
I love that. Well, what's the website again and the Instagram that you got?
Yeah, so it's www.setiquetteprep.com. SETIQUETTEPREP. And the Instagram is just at Setiquette Prep. And really, it's a combination of like the two words set and etiquette smashed together. So that's why I came up with that.
I love that. I love that name. Well, Elena, thank you for being here, for being so open, for talking about, for being so passionate about makeup, like and about the industry itself. We need more people like you, right? Because living this life is not easy, right? Living in this crazy industry that can soak you up in a second, right? And we don't do this because of the money. We don't do this because of the fame. We do this because we're passionate about it. We do this because we want to tell stories. And you are that. Like, I see you and I see the reflection of what it is to be on set and what it is to be happy about what you do. And I want everybody to understand out there that we're here because, we love this and we love what we do, right? There's no other reason. Money is not going to come. I mean, it's gonna come at some point, but not at the beginning. Not when you're starting out. It's gonna be there, yes, because we gotta pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
But but don't get in the industry because you think you're gonna be famous and rich, because that's not it. There has to be something else. And everybody out there, like, you can be passionate about anything in this industry, like from writing, from filmmaking, from doing makeup, hair, prosthetics, all that stuff. It's so beautiful and it's so amazing. And I also want actors out there to appreciate everything that's happening around them. I want you to understand that you got there on set at 7 a.m., but at 5 a.m., makeup department got there to clean their brushes, to set everything, to look at the pictures, to set up what we're gonna do, the order of everything that's gonna happen. There's so much that's happening before we get on set that we don't see, and we sometimes think that we are the king or the queen of the world, right? And it's like, I'm here, you do whatever I need. But it's not about that. And you said it before, it's about being together, right? Like, this works, we work together in order for things to happen and to work. Like, we gotta work together. I gotta understand what you do, you gotta understand what I do. And that's the only way it's gonna happen. And we need to be more appreciative of that. And I want people to understand that more, because the work that you do, it takes time, Like, you don't suddenly the next day come and like, oh, I'm gonna try this. No, you prepare for that. Just as I prepare for my lines, beforehand, you prepare with what you're gonna do and make everything make sense. So I really want to thank you, Elena. I don't know if you get this a lot, but the work that you do is amazing, and I appreciate, and you keep going. Like, I love, you're so passionate. Again, I keep saying that because you're just so fucking passionate, and I love it. I love people who are passionate about what they do, and you're just a reflection of that. So keep changing the world one brush at a time, right? Keep doing your thing, because you're just doing amazing, and I want people to really look up for what you do, because you're just out of this world, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning. I mean, I've got a lot more plans that, we might just say we might just not stick to makeup artistry. Let's just
right.
Say that.
That's it. You keep evolving and you keep changing and you keep discovering more and more and more. And that's what we got to do, right? Like, as human beings, and too, we got to keep evolving. We got to keep finding things we gotta keep, finding things that makes us spark more. And oh my god, I like this. I combine things like you did with science, and it's just crazy. So we gotta keep evolving. We gotta keep, because as human beings, we're never gonna end up like changing or learning or experiencing, and we gotta be open for that. And that's what you're doing. And thank you for that, Elena. How
I
can
love
people
that you
reach
said,
out?
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to
No.
say I really loved what you said, evolving, because
Yeah.
we'll just say that word might be very important in the near future. That's all
Ooh,
I'm gonna
exactly.
say.
That's it. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Elena, where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you? And also, what's next to Elena that you can talk about if you want to?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hopefully a nap. No. Let's see here. You can find me on social media at Elena J. Miller on all social platforms. I have a unique enough name that I managed to have grabbed every single handle on every single platform. So easy peasy. My website is also www.elenajmiller.com. Just keep it easy. IMDb, Elena Miller. And of course, my company is linked in my social media as well. And I am on pretty much everything: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, WhatsApp, texting, DMing. I think that's it. Oh, Substack.
Love it.
And oh my gosh, I feel like I'm forgetting another one. I was making a list the other day. I was like, I'm exhausted from checking all these different platforms, but I've been getting booked and I'm so grateful. So I will not stop. And what am I doing right now? What can I talk about? Well, I'm under a lot of different NDAs. So let's see here.
Let's say you're booked and blessed.
Yes, booked and blessed is great. Yes, booked and busy, as Ricky Thompson would say. He's a IG person, if you don't know. And let's see, what can I talk about? What am I looking forward to? I am working on a docu-series that's going to be pretty revolutionary, I think, to the world. And I'm very honored to be a part of that. And I am also on hold for a feature in Atlanta, provided scheduling all works out, coming up in May or June, I think. And then I've got a couple short films and a couple other things I can't talk about that are happening later in the year. So yeah, it's busy, and I'm hoping to go on vacation at one point. I will be taking a break next week, so yeah.
Sometimes we need to disconnect, and it's very important for that.
Yes.
Yes,
rest is so important. Do not burn out.
We don't need that.
But yeah.
So one last thing, Elena, what would you tell to those young makeup artists out there who are just thinking about it, but they haven't taken that step of like going full in and actually trying it out? What would you tell them?
You are the only one that can do what you do. And no one else can do it like you. There are so many people that can do beauty, so many people that can do blood, bruising, prosthetics, sculpting, mold running, making all kinds of different looks, but they're not going to do it like you can, because everyone has a specific style. They hold the brush a different way. They have different life experiences. They're going to create art in a way that is unique to them. So be so true to yourself. Like, be your biggest fan. You are the main character of your life. So be as authentic as possible and hone in on what you love and who you are. When you recognize everything that you love about yourself and you can embrace yourself, everything else just seems to come a lot more naturally. Not everyone's going to like you, and that is okay. I have had to learn that recently, and that's fine. And we can't go through life fearing rejection or fearing not being liked as a reason for why we're going to stop. I mean, there are certain people in this world that are very hated, and they are still doing what they want to do. So be that person and just keep going.
Love that. I stuck with something you just said. You hold a brush a different way. That is the beauty of it. We're all so different. Whatever you do is unique to yourself, and you gotta think about that. Never compete with anybody else, but
No.
just think about what you do that makes you different. That's the
Yep.
beauty of it. Thank you for that, Elena. Thank you for
Yeah.
having this chat. It was amazing. Thank you for telling your story, for being so open about it. And I want everybody out there to follow Elena, see the work that she does. It's just, again, I've been saying this since we started because it's just amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Please, 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 keep doing what you're doing. Never give up. Keep evolving. Keep shaping the industry as you're doing as today. This is just the beginning, like you said. You got a lot in the future, and I love it. And I'm glad that I get to see you evolving and growing and changing, and that's the beauty of it. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. This was an amazing conversation with Elena Miller, makeup artist. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms, Lights Camera Latino, Angel Fabian Rivera. And I always like to end the episode, Elena, with this phrase that says, when life knocks you down, levántate con más fuerza, keep fighting. Thank you so much for being here, Elena, y hasta la
Sí,
próxima.
gracias. Gracias. I know that word.
Yes. Gracias.